Sunday, the 18th of May. May the 18th. Welcome to Two Guys, One Cup, an AFL adjacent podcast. My name is Will Anderson.
And my name is Charlie Clausen. And as we're recording, we have 6 minutes to make the kiss of death work because the Saints are currently 29 points down with 6 minutes to play. So the Eagles are definitely going to win this one, Will. Definitely going to win this one.
Well, hang on. How far down are the Saints?
29 points with 6 minutes to go.
I mean, yeah, the Eagles are definitely going to win this one. Like, there's no way that the Eagles won't win this one. Like, I was going to
This would be amazing, though, right?
For your sake, but this would be proof.
Yeah,
because there is absolutely no way in the entire world that the West Coast Eagles, because like we're inside the Lee Matthews zone, basically. Oh no, we're not yet, right?
Not yet.
Because his is goals needed versus
5
minutes
goals
left available.
Yeah,
so 5 goals in 5 minutes, technically. So
and we've just kicked one.
We've got a minute. Oh, so we've got a minute up our sleeve.
Yeah. Although
there's still no way West Coast could win this. Absolutely
yeah, no, the Eagles are just one another clearance.
Yeah.
It's one of those games where you watch and you're like, they were going to win this. They were just G'd up for it. There's enough going. There's enough emotionally on the line for them. Fair enough. You know what? You've actually been really good for me this football season, Will, because you're like, nothing matters. Like it all changes. Like results from one week to the next. We're going to get another goal here, Will, and I'm going to be I'm going to be back on board this crazy ride.
I mean, it's weird. It's actually, I know you desperately needed it for the sake of the curse, but it also could be the worst 6 minutes in the history of this podcast.
I'll be so distracted.
Because you are paying no attention to me or the show at the moment. And I have looked ahead because I think the St Kilda have got some of the real glamour spots of Sunday afternoon in your schedule.
That's
so
our slot, baby.
I think we're going to be getting a few of these in coming weeks.
I literally have you minimized on my screen. You're about this big. I'm looking at a postage stamp while I have the game playing out in full HD just below you. So if I do get distracted, it's because we've kicked another one. So it's 4 goals in just over 5.5 minutes. So if the Lee Matthews rule.
Well, this reminds me, we've still got the maths on our side. And speaking of maths, this does remind me of the times when back in the day when I was doing the radio show with a listener of this show, Adam Spencer, and there would be a very important football world game on the television that would coincide with us being in the studio, and that he would arrange the TV that we had in the studio directly behind my head so that he could look at me when we talked, but mostly just look at the TV that was behind me as if I were presenting the game.
Well, let's not talk about this game. Let's talk about a game that I did watch the whole match, and it shouldn't have been enthralling, but it was, and that was the Doggies and the Bombers. Like, what did you do to them? What did you do to those poor Bombers boys? It was fascinating to watch. It was just like... because I had a rare Saturday night to myself. Yep.
In fact, I think probably the first one that I've had for the entire football season. And I decided, I was tossing up because I was in Melbourne, so I could have gone to the game, but I'd had like a bunch of commitments during the day. So I got home pretty late and I was like, you know what, it's a cold night. I don't have anyone to go to the game with. So the more pleasurable way to watch this is going to be to watch it at home regardless. And it was. I was glad with the way that the game, I certainly wasn't like in the mood for, like I didn't have the energy to celebrate in the way that would have been required of me if I were there at the game, because they were so magnificent that you would have, like, I would have been exhausted from constantly being on my feet cheering about like our players doing extraordinary things. Like,
I don't know if that you would have been up on your feet because it was so obvious early how switched on you were. And I think I wrote in a tweet that like the Dogs and the Suns at the moment, they're the 2 best teams to watch, I reckon, as a neutral, because you've got the highest percentage of players who can do party tricks. Like you've got at least, I don't know, it feels like 8 or 9 guys who can just do stuff just for fun. You know, like even Tim English is like knocking a ball back between his legs. Like
it just feels like they have license to do it. And I don't know if you saw Bevo being interviewed at halftime where it was put to him that they had exhibited a little bit of the Harlem Globetrotters style in the first half, and particularly referencing I think it was the Ed Richards mark, you know, off the...
Yes.
the ball forward, like, which was just incredible. Like, it was genuinely, you were like, okay, right, well, we're not going to lose this tonight.
No.
Everything's going fine. This is just going to be one of those nights I can sit alone at home and enjoy watching my football team be good at football. And it was great. It was really fantastic to watch as a Bulldogs fan, because there's nothing better than getting to see the majority, and unfortunately I do have to say the majority of your players have just an extraordinary game. It must be hard when you're an Aaron Norton and you have been struggling a bit for form all year, but you're also dealing with the fact that, you know, Jamara and Sam Darcy and all these other people who would ordinarily distract Charlie, stop listening to me again.
No, I'm listening to you, Jamara. It must be hard if you're Aaron Norton. And actually, I'm not even watching the football. I just realised I haven't got my light turned on. I'm like, am I looking too dark in this shot? Because I can't see myself, because you're the size of a postage stamp. So I can't see my monitoring window. Do I look all right? Can you see my face?
This must have been what it was like to be Jared trying to talk to Robbo. It doesn't really.
It's like, is he actually listening to me, or is there just like a monkey like playing a drum in his head right now?
All I will say is Aaron Norton's having a tough season, and he didn't have a great night. And it must be tough, I reckon, on a night when every single other person is having a great night.
He had one moment, though. He kicked that one goal that was like,
the free kick that he shouldn't have got, because he wasn't even standing closest to it when the free kick
No, there was
was.
another one. Didn't he take a mark or something like that? I seem to remember him getting in on the action at some point. But yes.
Yeah, but
like, he is, considering the opportunity that's in front of him, he is way, way, way down on the list in terms of, like, they're just a brilliant football club. Like, my prediction at the start of the season may turn out to be the smartest thing I've ever said on this show, because the Doggies just look, considering all you've got out as well, the players you don't have and the way you're playing.
And it's almost like it's unlocked the best way for us to play.
It's the ultimate bottom boy.
And it's also that thing of just going, you know what? Like, who's going to kick the goals? I don't know. Like, why don't you all have a go?
Yeah.
Why don't you all try to kick a goal?
Well, they did say, I'm not sure if you picked this up on the commentary or what commentary you're watching, but
I was watching the Fox, the KO.
Yes, same. And so they were talking about how, and we sort of joked about this in the past, the Bulldogs are a team of midfielders. And they were saying that is true. But if you want to stay in the side, there's only like 4 midfield slots, and that's going to Libba and Bont and Ed Richards. So if you're like a Riley West or one of these other guys, it's like, learn how to be a forward pocket, or learn how to play off a halfback flank, or learn how to be a back pocket if that position still exists. Because that's kind of, and so what you're getting is just like the most highly skilled role players in football right now.
Yeah, well, you beat Bailey Dale and you're a half back.
Yeah, get 50 touches.
And you get 49 touches. How do you feel about, by the way, because, I mean, here's the thing. Who cares, right? Who cares if somebody gets like that many touches, and particularly in an era where he takes a lot of our kicks from fullback. Like, it's, what does it really mean or matter, and whether you pump someone's stats? But it's a bit of fun in a game that there wasn't a lot on the line. It was a thing for everybody to start barracking for towards the end, was like, is he going to beat the Bulldogs record? And then is he going to get to 50? What did you think about the idea of that Bailey Williams absolutely torched him and just at the end when he absolutely could have given it to him?
I mean, I don't know how much the players are aware. Like, is someone running out and saying to him, hey, you're up to, 47, 48, 49? Like,
I said that apparently I was listening to Libba today on the radio, and he was talking about the fact that from the bench they were trying to communicate how many he was.
Okay. Because it does remind me a bit of like junior footy or local level footy where, someone would kick 27 goals in a game or something like that.
Yeah, totally.
And so it's so one-sided that becomes the spectacle. Is like, oh, can we see something we've never seen before? And
there was that was why it was kind of compelling. I mean, the Harlem Globetrotters thing made sense, even though Bevo, of course, like bristled, like when it was put to him. But it kind of made sense because it was like an exhibition of how you would show someone what football like is meant to look like. And then the other team were just like the Washington Generals, whose job it is to Yeah, they're like the ones that
50
come
word is the
installed with the computer game.
background
that you
extras.
play against. Yeah,
That's right. Like non-featured
Yeah.
extras. It's
The
like,
other team of prisoners that came to the prison to play the football game.
it is funny though, like, because you think about this season and all the ups and downs of it, and it was only. I mean, I don't want to have to do this, Will, but it feels like it wasn't that long ago that people were saying, "Hey, Essendon have put together a good run of form. Like they could potentially play finals." It didn't seem.
Well, it was
that
1
long
week
ago.
ago. That's why. It was literally 1 week ago. It was
Do you
actually
remember
3 days ago.
Freo basket case. They can't win anything. Terrible.
I mean, this season, it is one of those things where, because like Sydney, look, maybe, do you remember when Sydney were, you're not convinced yet. Yeah, do you remember when Sydney weren't going to make the finals?
Yeah. We all have super short memories. And I think that's why I don't feel so bad about week to week. Like I also am just looking at the big picture, and the gap between the really good teams like your Bulldogs, your Suns, your Lions, your Collingwood, and then say everyone from like 6 below, it's huge. Like we are honestly just making up the numbers. So just enjoy it while you can. We're not going to win every week. We're going to have some unexpected wins and some unexpected losses, but ultimately pick one of the top 6 teams to follow and then you'll be much happier. So I feel like I'm all in on the Dogs. I love watching the Suns play. I love watching the Lions play. I can't bring myself to like Collingwood. I think it's less to do with the players and more to do with the organisation, but they are a good football team.
Yeah, it feels like when you, and look, I've been on board with Collingwood a bit, over the last few years because I've enjoyed the way they play. But sometimes, as you say, you've got to remember the institution that they represent. And then,
right.
if there was a new crop of stormtroopers and we liked the way they went about their business, they actually fixed their shooting problems and had a good vibe. There was a couple of cool brothers whose dad had been a stormtrooper, and suddenly you'd be like, yeah, but it's still the Empire, man.
Yeah,
like, we shouldn't be.
Stop cozying up to them. So the Swans, it was interesting because the SCG has been such a unhappy hunting ground for them this year. And then like Chad Warner, he signs that extension. And then, I mean, he kind of won it off his own. Like him and Heaney, I guess, the two players that you're just like, oh, okay, that elevates you above. But
do you know why? Because on the way to the game, he saw that Colgate commercial and he was like, you know what?
I've got an update on the Colgate. I was going to save it for the end of the episode, but let's get to it now.
I saw it so many times in the last couple of days. It almost feels like if I were to become a conspiracy theorist and go down a rabbit hole, this might be the thing. This ad and the power dynamic and like everything about it. Tell me, what do you know?
Okay, this came in from Jen. Hi guys, I have some inside info on the Heaney Petrarca Colgate ad. I know someone who worked on the ad. And by the way, we received a very similar email about 3 weeks ago that this person initially retracted. So
comments.
Jen clearly has no such loyalties. She doesn't get who she burns.
Did the information
for the sake of truth?
Was there a confirmation? Could you take it as like a second?
Yes.
You'd be like, oh yeah, this is like
it checks out.
Yeah, good. Okay.
I know someone who worked on the ad, and he said he doesn't think there's an alternate version in which Petrarca marks on Heaney, as they were already pushing for time to get the current version filmed. Secondly, when asked why Heaney, he said that at the time Heaney was much more popular. I mean, I guess they would be doing market research, the advertising agency, probably like, and in the markets, the specific Sydney market, and being talked, is much more popular and being talked about than Petrarca. It is a Sydney-based company, so perhaps there was a bias.
But why Petrarca be in the ad then, regardless? Like,
okay. Secondly, they preferred Heaney's smile.
Oh yeah, well that makes sense. Like he does have a beautiful smile.
Yeah.
Again, why is Petrarca in the ad?
I'm getting to it.
Yeah, I know. I'm
anxious.
Okay. I'm building some of it.
Finally, when I asked why Petrarca would agree to this, he just shrugged and said, "I don't know. Maybe he likes money." He did also say that both Heaney and Petrarca were great guys and lovely to work with. Look, if there's anyone else who worked on this, I mean, I feel like this is the moon landing, like the Kubrick moon landing tape. Like we need to get to what actually happened on this set. Like, can we find out I mean,
Well,
Petrarca,
if there's not an alternate version,
yeah,
then there's probably no bad blood, right? A decision was just made at some point and they both agreed to it and they're both good guys on set.
yeah.
Therefore, we should be able to talk to one or the other of them about it.
And I also think that Petrarca, when it comes to brand Petrarca, this is a guy who clearly has ambitions beyond football. And so he probably isn't as kind of precious about how he's represented as a footballer. I mean, he seems quite secure in himself. He is one of the greatest like midfielders of all time, definitely one of Melbourne's like Hall of Famers. So I think he strikes me as a kind of guy's confidence. Like, yeah, you want to take a pretend mark over me in a toothpaste, Dad? Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
sure.
great. Like, do I still get paid?
Try it in a game, Tiger.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, I've got to get home because I have like 17 cooking videos to film
I'm
for
so
Coles.
sorry. Yeah.
So, or Woolworths or whoever he fucking sponsors in.
Okay, so yeah, I think that there is probably that, and maybe we're reading a little bit too much into it. But I think in order of people to talk to, like I'd love to know if there was a script, like if there was a storyboard, if it were pitched and agreed to like beforehand.
There would have been generic storyboards.
Or if it were on the day, something that because are you going into this shoot? You've done enough of these sort of things to be able to probably answer this question. Are you going into this shoot with it all clear of like, this is definitely going to be Isaac Heaney taking this mark?
No.
It's definitely going to be Petrarca underneath. Or is that a decision you're making on the day? Because that could blow up in your face though on the day.
Definitely. There would have been two versions. There would have been...
they've filmed both versions or no?
Oh, no, I reckon they would have... When they were pitching the idea to Colgate, the agency would have gone to the client and they would have had generic storyboards drawn up. So featureless kind of footballers. Hey, we're going to go out and see who we can get. We're thinking Isaac Heaney or Chad Warner, and we're thinking a Victorian player like blah, blah, blah. And so then they would have asked around and got who they got, Petrarca and Heaney. Then they would have done a second version, and then they would have had a discussion around, well, who's going to take the mark? And they would have looked at the headshots or whatever, the club photos of both players and gone, oh, that Heaney's got a winning smile. And they would have put that to Petrarca's manager and Heaney's manager, and then they would have got that signed off. And so I doubt there's no way when they're spending that much money, they're getting on set with no idea what they're filming, or if they were going to do an alternate, that would have been agreed upon before they actually got to the set.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense to me. If they do a new version, I know who can play the Petrarca role. James Sicily, because I don't know if you saw any of that game.
Oh, awesome.
People were doing that to him all night long.
It was great. How's fucking Ben Long? He was a Bulldog, then a Saint. Now he's a son and playing and living his best life. Yeah.
I know. But, but it's ridiculous. He's developed into such an excellent footballer, and that was like one of the better games that I've seen him play.
And seeing those Darwin games too, like they are, of all the kind of smaller grounds like your Mars and your Manuka, what's the Canberra one?
It's not either of the two things you've said.
Manuka? What is it?
Manuka.
Okay, Manuka. Manuka.
No, it's okay. Now, Thorpe.
It has the best vibe. It's like a fucking party's going on there. Makes me want to go and watch a game there. Everyone just seems to be just having the best time and they're so into it. Mate, and I get the feeling too that people are just walking to the ground and just being either handed or just grabbing scarves, because they don't seem to have like a specific angry intensity. It's just a happy to be there kind of energy.
Well, also Cyril was there, which was one of the most amazing things of all, which was just to see him at a game and to, I think, see so many of those Indigenous kids from up there in Hawthorn like jerseys, because it didn't feel like I know what you're saying. It doesn't feel like a Gold Coast home game.
No.
Like there was a lot of random jerseys, but there was a lot of Hawthorn ones. And I think a lot of them probably are Hawthorn fans because they grew up watching Cyril play. And then for him to be there at the game felt like a very cool thing that he was at the game,
So do you reckon now Anderson and Rao, that's the best 1-2 combo midfield combo going around. It feels like.
Can I introduce you to
Libba and
Bontempelli,
Bont.
Liberatore, Ed Richards?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, there's just something that. Yeah, you're right. I think the Bulldogs are the more established one, but in terms of just like,
I mean, the ones we
Bailey
were just talking
Humphrey.
about, Isaac Heaney and Chad Warner go pretty well as well.
Yeah, I don't know though. I just think there's something about Raul and Anderson. Like,
They're very compelling. There's
Noah
no doubt
Anderson
about
can
that,
do stuff that, and then you got Tuke like just spending time up for kicking goals now. It's like,
I think that's what it's been better for. It is like we know those two are good, but it's the people around them who have found other roles.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
I mean, they're great.
It's also what's new, right? Like I've seen the Bont Libba thing story before. I've seen Chad Warner and Isaac Heaney, but this seems new and exciting. It's mainly Raul playing the kind of footy he's playing, like the way he's covering the ground. Like Anderson is just so.
It's the two of them together and what they both do well.
Yes,
like it's
the thing we always said about them. It's the buddy cop movie. They are like two opposites who just go great together.
Yeah, and that I think more than any of those other combos. Like take the idea of whether the star power in any of the other teams is as much, right?
Yeah.
But just go to who would make the best buddy cop movie of the number one and number two. It is definitely them because they've got those contrasting personalities and vibes, and if you good cop, bad cop in the box, they'd be able to flip it on which one was the good cop and the bad cop.
You're right, because if you're talking about like easily recognizable archetypes, you got your bash and crash inside mid, you got your creative, slick, reliable outside, receiver runner, and so. Like, because Bont, you could look at Bont, and Bont is such a superstar. It almost feels like, well, he adds 10 to 15% to anyone who's in the center square with him anyway. Just like if you're in the wake of Bont, he's just gonna make you better just by being in his presence.
Yeah, but also it is it's that thing of going, are the other three members of this band also awesome, or is the lead singer so good that it doesn't actually matter who the rest of is it? I mean, The Cure, it's good if they've got some other regulars around, but really, as long as Robert Smith's there, it's The Cure, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like when Axl Rose kept going with Guns N' Roses. It's really just Axl, right? Yeah. So what do we think of the Lions losing to Melbourne? I was watching this game and sort of switched it off because it just looked like the Lions were going to run away with it.
I watched the whole thing because I tried to watch your game in Western Australia and it was making my head hurt.
Yeah.
So I tried to out of friendship. I was like, I want to watch Charlie's game. Maybe the Saints will beat West Coast. And then I was like, well, as you said, like a lot of emotion for West Coast attached to this game. And like this is not the sort of podcast where obviously, there's much of it, but just to there was a lot of death and sadness in the AFL community this week at all ends of it. And it's just horrible. And it reminds you that it's just human beings involved in a game. And it's something that we've been talking about more and more in this hot take culture is just the idea of just remember we're just playing a fun game with human beings playing a fun game. And just in general, try to remember that as well.
But, and I think that's kind of what we're trying to do with the show this year as well is let's just get back to talking about what we enjoy.
That's right.
as
and
opposed to getting
fun with it.
Constantly frustrated by Kane Corns, which I'm just having to tune out now. It's just
So I tuned into the Brisbane game and Brisbane just looked like they were doing what Brisbane have been doing all season, which is not necessarily playing amazing, but they still seem to be 20 and 30 points in front in the game. And, anytime Melbourne came back a bit, Brisbane to kick another couple of goals and you'd be like, oh, Brisbane will be fine here. And then Melbourne just got it going, got a run on, everyone started to play really well and then looked a bit irrepressible towards the end. Melbourne maybe finding a little bit of their swagger again. They've been playing a little bit better. I think there's a little bit of life left in Melbourne's season.
Oh God, this is again, it comes down to that thing of who fucking knows? Who knows? Honestly, I don't think it matters. Let's do the vibe check, Will. Who's on top of the ladder?
All right. So I would have said Brisbane, but Brisbane lost. So
that's correct.
I am going to say top of the ladder. Oh, Collingwood.
Collingwood is on top of the ladder. Yep.
And then Brisbane probably still.
Yep.
And then, Gold Coast.
Gold Coast.
Yes, because they won
Queensland
again.
football was on life support about 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Now look at them, second and third on the ladder. Who's in fourth? A loser is in fourth.
A loser is in fourth. A loser is in fourth.
One of the more entertaining games of the round. A loser and one of the more entertaining,
Geelong
free-flowing, high-scoring. The opposite of what you just watched with St Kilda and West Coast.
It was a high-scoring game. It was free-flowing.
Yep. And this
Hawthorn.
team has been good. Yes, Hawthorn.
Hawthorn, of course, yes. And,
Then
by the way, in that first half, like Nick Watson, like genuinely was playing one of those games where you're like, oh, he's the only person who's keeping you in this.
Yes.
It was for a tiny little man.
His body does things that it shouldn't be able to do.
He looks like he has a superpower.
I know.
He just kind of does this little flex, and it's like he has like a shield, like a radiation shield that like bursts out from him because he's just.
When he gets the ball, it looks too big for him. Like the ball looks like it takes up his entire chest.
Yeah.
Like a little leaguer.
Yeah. It's like he kicks it so well because to him it's like a big beach ball and you can't miss it, you know? It's like he's incredible. Like he got shut down a bit in the second half, but the rest of them started playing well at that point. But in the first half, I felt like he was the only person who was keeping him in the game.
That was such a fun watch, that game. It was just like, it was the crowd.
I thought they were going to win in the end, Hawthorn. They did a good job.
Yeah, they're an exciting team and they're going to win a flag soon. Great. Awesome. Okay, in fifth position with a bullet.
I'm going to say the Western Bulldogs.
Bulldogs. What a lovely percentage boost. You got 132%.
This is interesting for us now, though. Like Geelong. Like, and Bailey Smith, by the way, who might fucking win the Brownlow. And like he's just had like on fire, Bailey. So for us to be playing him when he's playing so well and they're playing well,
I think he might be out.
Smith?
Yes, I think that's what I heard. Didn't he get injured, or they rested him?
I
or
know
something?
Dangerfield did.
Maybe he didn't. That'd be a great game to watch.
Yeah,
great game to watch. Then in sixth position, another loser. Oh no, were they a winner? No, they're a loser.
Okay,
loser.
Sixth position, a GWS. No.
Adelaide.
Okay.
And then a winner and a loser in seventh and eighth.
GWS is one of them, and
they're in
Fremantle is probably the other one.
No, Geelong. GWS
of course.
are clinging on to eighth spot on the ladder, and it doesn't feel earned, does it? Like they've played one good game in a month, and they were terrible against Freo. Freo are really good, and it just makes you go, "Wow, you are the flakiest fucking team on the planet."
I don't know what's going on with Freo.
Who does? They're an enigma.
Yeah, you know what? I'm into it. I'm leaning in to them just being an absolute wild card. Freo are now the person you invite to the party, and you don't know if they're going to be boring and no one's going to even notice they were at the party, or they are just going to, like, by 6:30 p.m. have had 19 tequilas and have a lampshade on their head and have their pants off because they are all over the shop.
Bipolar, because when they play well like they did against the Giants, and like, Shea Bolton looked like Shea Bolton of the Tigers era, just like chasing down people and kicking freakish goals. And but
he's been warming up to that for a few weeks now. Like he's been starting to really get it going, and he is a very good footballer.
Now watch them lose to fucking like North Melbourne or something.
They'll lose to a fence that they're kicking a ball against. Like it's like bananas to me what Freo are, but I love it. It's just a wild card energy that they're just going to bring to the table where you can never predict what's going on. And I think this is why the Luke Jackson story always feels like he's flip-flopping, probably because from week to week, he's like, I want to go home. No, I want to stay. Oh, this is awesome. No, I want to go home. What a nightmare.
I couldn't help but tune into Blue Abroad after the loss on Friday, just because
you've been following the story and you want to know where we're at.
And I know they've been up and about, and like I just wanted to play this one little exchange. Listen to Terry here. He had a guy ring in who was very angry, very, very angry. And the thrust of what he's complaining about is like he feels like he hasn't seen a win from Carlton, even though he's seen wins this year. Is like they don't play like winners. We are a winning club. We don't play like winners. We don't act like winners. And He's sort of, as he's talking, he's actually unfolding a list because I think he's got a list of like players that he wants sacked from the club.
He's made
Just
his own
listen to
list.
how patient Terry is in the way he kind of just tries to get this guy to move on.
Let's.
I'm hard, and I mean, you know that I'm hard.
It's fine. Your standards are high. I love it, but we're ultra emotional after the siren. Yeah, they fluffed it badly, and that's that. You know, they got to.
You know, and
so let's move along.
Well, yeah, it's the end of the year, and I think no, because I want to talk about. I think
he's getting his list out.
Okay, give us one more final point, and we'll move along.
We're going nowhere. We're going nowhere in a hurry.
Okay.
This team that we have is not going to lift the flag, Terry.
Okay.
Like, that is so perfectly played. Well done, Terry. Again, I've just got nothing but admiration because he does this all night well. That's the other thing. Like, this isn't like a 1 hour show. He jumps on and he will take like every
show,
call.
Charlie, this feels like a public service. This is like Lifeline. Like, we should be doing a funding drive to raise money for this because it is the way that he was helping that man not explode.
It's like that hostage negotiator. Totally. It was like, and to be honest, like the majority of the people ringing in or calling in were much less angry. But this guy was just like, and I get it, man. Like, I watched the Saints today. I'm like, Jesus, like how long do you have to be bad for? Like, can't we just string together a run of form where it's like 6-7 wins in a row rather than like 2 wins here, maybe 3 if you're lucky? I get it. But to this guy, I would just say, who cares? Like, it doesn't fucking matter. We're not Collingwood, Brisbane, the Gold Coast Hawthorn, the Bulldogs, or the Cats. So they're the teams that are going to be playing, you know, who are going to be contesting for finals. So just enjoy when you win and don't stress out when they lose.
Readjust your expectations.
Yeah, exactly.
So
lower them accordingly.
You don't have to give up all hope. But what you could say is, look, these 6 teams, like the Charlie theory, these 6 teams are the superior teams in the competition. So therefore, most likely at this point, it's going to be one of those 6 teams that probably wins the premiership. We're unlikely to be one of those 6 teams. So best case scenario, our little plucky team from here on gets an incredible run on and we get to challenge in those 6 teams. Great. But that's probably not going to happen. If that happens, great. Like, but if you can follow it a bit more like that, where you're like, oh, great, we had a good win here, or this player's like, I mean, if you're a Richmond fan, like they lost today, but they barely lost.
Yeah.
Lawler again, Layla. Sorry, he's Layla, isn't he? Not Lawler?
I don't know. I think it's Lawler. I thought it was Lawler.
It is Lawler,
Sam
isn't it? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Lawler. He looks like he's, you know, going to be one of the best players in the competition within the next 12 months. Like, he's already showing those sort of signs of being a great player. There's
Will, before you go on, remember when Richmond weren't going to win a game for the year?
Yeah, remember when Lawler like broke his jaw in the the last game of the preseason and probably wasn't going to play this season?
Even like West Coast, and I'm not just saying it because they beat us today. I think they've been actually okay the last few weeks. Like, I've watched a bit of West Coast, and I think that like they were due for a win. It makes sense. Oscar Allen comes back, the emotion of the day, all that kind of stuff. So I have lowered my expectations accordingly, and it's not even really about ladder position. We have to finish this to be a successful year. I understand that we don't have a midfield. Our forward line is basically all on the injured list. We're trying to work our way through something. So I'm just going to enjoy the little wins we get, the unexpected wins here, and then I'm just not going to get stressed about losses like this.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into the more serious stuff about what West Coast had on the line today, but maybe the Oscar Allen thing, you know, maybe sometimes by staying, you're enabling, you know? And maybe him just kind of them getting the wake-up call that even their captain was like, this is bullshit, I'm out of here. Maybe it was the wake-up call that West Coast needed.
He's just driving up his trade value, I think. Yeah. I mean, Hawthorn, if they want him. Because that's the other talk too is, so Hawthorn apparently in the market for Oscar Allen and Harley Reid. They'll probably get both of them.
How, though? How do
I
they
don't know, because they're fucking Hawthorn.
They can't.
It will
keep
happen.
Playing everybody.
Geelong or Hawthorn, It'll
Yeah.
be one of those two teams. Do you remember when Carlton used to get everyone and then we found out they were cheating?
Yeah. Yeah, but how do Hawthorn do it? Like Geelong, we all have a sense of what the kind of on top of the like ground story is. That it is a nicer place to live. There's
Because
the
Hawthorn
value for
say if
money,
you stick
etc.
around for
Yeah.
10 years, you'll
Yeah.
odds are you'll play in 2 premierships.
Yeah.
No, so what is it? 4.7
So that's
years. Yeah, that's right.
That's what we can offer you.
Yeah, 2 flags.
On average, 2 flags this decade. If
I mean,
you
it's
do your
pretty
bit
fucking
and play
appealing.
for 10 years, we'll do our bit and deliver you 2 premierships.
Oh, it makes me fucking sick.
I know that it might be nice to have a house at Moggs Point, mate, but how would you like 2 flags every 10 years?
Yes, please. I actually that brings me. Let's get to the mailbag, and we have a lot to get through, so we're going to start a bit earlier the mailbag today. But while we're talking about Hawthorn, this came in from Tony. He said, "Hi guys, I'm a tragic Freo supporter of 31 years.
Oh yeah.
Whilst watching the Hawks play Melbourne last weekend, I got to see the Hawks parade and blatantly show off both physically and emotionally their 13 premiership cups.
Yeah.
I could only salivate and watch in bewilderment at the thought of winning 13 cups. Heck, I'm dreaming of just one fucking cup. It's disheartening.
Yeah.
Knowing Charlie's constant gripes and jealousy of the Hawks and to a lesser extent Will's, I thought I'd do some hardcore maths, and here's the result. The Saints, plus the Bulldogs, plus the Dockers combined, have been in the comp for 260 years for a total of 3 cups. 3 fucking cups.
Yeah.
This averages
and
to...
I got to be honest with you guys, the Bulldogs are doing the majority of the heavy lifting in this.
This averages to, wait for it, 1 cup per 86.6666 years. Hawthorn, however, have won 13 in 100 years, thus 1 cup every 7.69 years. Tony, don't do the math on how often they get a flag from their first to now. Like if you take it from the modern era, it's like 4 years.
Yeah, if you measure from the base, it doesn't work as well. But if you...
So in summary, our 3 teams win a cup every 87 years, while the Hawks win one every 7 years. Bear in mind, the average life expectancy of the Aussie male is 81 years old. Enough said. You're fine. You're okay. It's just me and Tony. Ticking time bombs.
Well, yeah.
I've got 33 years to see a flag.
Yeah, you're pretty healthy, though.
Not watching the fucking Saints. It's going to give me an aneurysm. I'll tell you what. We love hearing from people who listen to the show abroad.
Oh, yes.
We've got this from Shane. He said, "Hey, guys, in light of your international listeners, I was wondering if you could do a shout out to let your audience know that there's actually lots of clubs around the world and they're always looking for players regardless of experience.
Yes.
For example, in Canada, we have 8 of our 10 we have clubs in 8 of our 10 provinces. It was great to hear about Daniel in Manitoba in your recent podcast. While we don't have a team in Manitoba at the moment, if Daniel and his friends are interested, we'd be more than happy to help him start one. Thanks
An
to
expansion club.
Yes. And this is what I like, the way thanks to your work spreading footy around the world, even if you didn't realize you were doing it.
International football pioneers. Like
That's us, ambassadors.
I love that. I think this is great. Like, I mean, this is a time when, like, I mean, AFL House is a mess. Behind the scenes, you know, everything's going wrong. There's no communication anywhere. This feels like the perfect time for us to sort of make a move to be the real. Well, like maybe while they're distracted, while they're not thinking internationally, we do.
Yeah.
Maybe this is what we try to, corner is that's
take them back to Shanghai.
We take the podcast to Shanghai.
Yeah, imagine that. We get arrested, never seen again, disappeared. But the podcast keeps coming out. People are like, it's so odd. Have you been listening to 2 Guys, 1 Cup? They're doing it from like an undisclosed location somewhere in the Chinese province. They don't reference the fact that they've been kidnapped. In fact, although they are pumping up the Shanghai Dragons a lot. This came in from Patrick, who resides in Ohio in the United States. The first American listener who hasn't begged for us to get him out of the States. So well done there, Patrick. But he's got, he wants to know, we were coming up with, could St Kilda change their name? Would that help get more success? So he was saying, how about we call them the Moorabbin Marauders?
Oh, yeah. I don't mind Marauders. Although in Victoria at the moment, there is a lot of public debate about crime in the suburbs.
Breaking and entering.
Yeah, so I'm not sure that the
Max King
Marauders
gets shot by someone standing their ground. He's just trying to get memberships and do a door knock. He gets blasted in the chest with a shotgun.
Max King's out, shotgun wound to the chest.
We finally 2 weeks.
The good news is we got his knees.
Yeah.
His knees are great, but we do have some bad news.
Shotgun wound to the chest. This is from Paul. He says, hi, I'm just reaching out as a UK Saints supporter.
Great.
I found the AFL via the Saints via Matt Stewart on Do Go On and became an international member in 2020.
Great.
With this, I can watch all the games live or catch up on the AFL app. This was my thing I did in lockdown, even though I worked throughout. I love underdogs, so St Kilda tick the box for me. I follow Oldham Athletic in the UK. My teams never win, but there's always hope. It would be boring if they won all the time, and it builds character. At least that's what I tell myself. Yes, mate, you are in denial, just like me. I tell myself I'm surrounded at work by entitled Man United, Man City fans, and they really don't like losing even one game every now and then. They're so soft. Yeah, I never thought about it like that. Losing comes so naturally to me.
What if the St Kilda team leaned into this more winning, whatever, man? Like that's the man's measurement.
Yeah,
of this is a game. We're grown adults chasing.
We get on Gen X.
Man.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah.
We get
whatever. It's whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever,
You
man.
win. You trying to win?
Oh, yeah,
Lame.
right.
Yeah.
Very uncool, mate. What are you doing? Trying to get a goal?
Yeah,
What? Because your
loser.
dad will love you more or something? Well, no.
Okay. So we're not just ambivalent about the game, but we've got an acerbic kind of wit.
Yeah, I know you're using it as part of the tactic. I mean, I don't think you can just give up on trying. You need to weaponize.
Well, I mean, Russ Lyon's pretty good with a one-liner and a zinger. When he wants to drill a journalist, he's the perfect guy to get the players
I mean, technically, he's probably not quite Gen X, but he'd be on the cusp. But he's probably Boomer X, right?
Yeah.
On that cusp of, and so. What if, Reality Bite style, he just does an Ethan Hawke turn, and just everything becomes? Because I reckon he could pull it off, as you said.
Yeah, about everything.
Apathetic.
Yeah.
Whatever, man. I mean, I guess if you want to measure, we have a limited time here, then if you want to measure it on wins in a made-up game, then I guess
that does actually sound like his press conferences now. There's not a heap of difference. He does talk about that. We don't. We're process driven.
Yeah.
We're process driven. This club. It's not about wins and losses. Support the Support the player. Change the behaviour.
Yeah.
He fucking says.
Yeah. So what if he just pivoted into
Gen X?
gets
a
more of
fringe. Grows more of a fringe.
Yeah, and then Ross
Flips it. During the press conference.
Ross, you were up at 3/4 time, but you lost the game. What do you think about that? And he's like, oh, well, whatever. Never mind.
Yeah. All right. Where else are we in the world listening to Two Guys, One Cup? I think we have someone in Korea. That's right. Caleb.
Oh.
I'm on my way to Korea. I've got a layover in China. It's a great time to listen to some footy adjacent podcasting. Pretty sure all my footy related content these days is you two and the footy with Broden Kelly. Keep up the good work. You'll be how I keep up with the games whilst I'm away. Well, that's probably not, if you want to keep up with the games, it's probably not the best way.
I mean, it's easy enough to keep up with the games. We'll keep up with the vague vibe. But again, this is perhaps, maybe we've been overlooking it for a long time, but are we more representative than these actual football shows where they watch all the games? Because most people aren't watching all the games. Most people are catching a couple of games on the weekend and then they're just getting the general vibe of what's going on in the AFL, right?
Yeah.
That's us. We are the AFL's preeminent vibes-based international AFL podcast.
It is true. Because even he mentioned Broden's show, they have excellent production values. Where they're they clip it up and they get big guests on and stuff.
Yeah.
So even they are.
I guess if you want to have big guests, if that's what you want to do with your
high
podcast,
viewer numbers,
and elaborate
loyal
production,
fan base.
I guess if you want to be like that,
yeah, sure. So no, hang on, a wee Ross line now. What's going on?
I don't know.
This is from Dan. Insights from an Aussie living in New Zealand. An Aussie AFL fan living in New Zealand. Kia ora,
great.
boys.
Kia ora.
While no longer playing the beautiful game here in New Zealand, I'm still a diehard Swans fan and a general lover of the game. There's a bunch of supporters over here, and every now and then you'll spot a random Crows or Collingwood jersey at one of the tourist sports. I'm yet to see a Saints jersey over here, though. A couple of questions and insights I'm hoping you can answer or validate from being over here. Okay. Number one, are the Suns actually any good? Should I be worried as a Swans fan? Yes. Well, they are good. I don't know if they're going to win the flag, but it's a low base.
They could win it. I don't think they're favourites, but I think they could.
Do you think that since the real secret behind their success is the redesign of their logo? Because that's when it's all come together. Because everyone was potting them at the start of the year about that new logo. And I was like, I don't mind it. I actually quite like the minimalist design and the red on the red. And then they brought out that super hot, like salmon pink one. I'm like, oh, that's a cool jumper. And so I feel like just that simple act of disruption, they have separated themselves from the old Gold Coast, the corporate fucking.
Well, that's
propped up
right.
by the
And
AFL.
from the way that everybody else is doing it. They're
Yes.
like, no, we're going to do our own thing. We have this like Lennon and McCartney style midfield, these two best friends, this buddy cop movie.
Yep.
They blend
two
into
Corys.
one. We don't need to have a difference in our logo. We have a united logo.
Yeah.
I also think that maybe Rioli and Noble have helped a lot. But
Yes.
like
definitely.
they seem to have been
How many
absolutely
touches did Noble have on? Like he didn't, or he almost racked up like 50 touches off halfback as well.
A Bailey Dale-esque amount of touches.
I used to play halfback flank in my junior footy days. Well,
It's where they used to put the spuds.
yes. Hide me in the back pocket. Occasionally, I'd creep up onto the wing if they needed someone tagged. But now it's like that's the position you want to play.
The best position to play, halfback flank.
Okay, so the Suns are good, yes. Agreed that there's way too many AFL shows during the week, and that's coming from someone that doesn't even have access to the millions of Fox Footy and Channel 7 shows. I like to keep it simple with 2 Guys, 1 Cup and the Footy with Broden on Monday to get the real inside goss and game review. I'm loving Matt Hill as a commentator, and
Yeah,
I'm
I like
still
Matt
loathing BT as a commentator. Matt Hill, excellent. Look, I understand that people don't like BT, but I just think by now he is what he is. It's kind of like being angry at like the Sun. Like BT has been around for ages. There is a section of the population that like him. I don't hate him. I find him entertaining at times, but you just get him when it's too blokey, when it's him and JB and it's just like it's too much of that kind of old school testosterone. Yeah, I get it. It's a bit much, but there's so many other options now to listen to.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like I've not heard BT commentate all season because
Yeah,
I don't
can't
know
actually think of
if I have Channel 7 on my television. So I don't think I mean, I probably do, but I certainly haven't opened it or like, cause I don't have an antenna or anything. So I would have to look at an app to watch 7 regardless. And it's so natural for me to just go to the KO app because it's what I'm watching the majority of my football content on.
Yeah, and I might hear him on, I guess, if you're watching highlights or something like that. But even then, I'm doing that through the KO
seems
app.
like a good amount. I feel fine with the highlights amount
Yeah, good point.
of BT that I'm hearing.
Although my Swannies are playing like clowns, I'll still watch them, even when Friday night kickoff is 9:40 over here. I'll watch as many games as possible. Can you get more Adam Spencer on the show, please? 3 guys, 2 cups. I didn't do the math. No, that is wrong. It's definitely Will on his own has got 2 cups.
Yeah, but 3 guys, there'd be a lot more cups.
There's a lot more cups.
I'd love to get Adam on the podcast again this year at some stage.
At some stage, well,
and we've been trying to get him on the we want to get him on our other podcast, Tofop, by the way, as well, because
I was
we
going
want
to
to
say
talk to him about
that's
AI.
about a bit sizzled. Next, he's actually booked to come on Tofop in the next couple
time
of
we
weeks.
record.
Yeah, so probably in about 5 or 6 weeks for the listeners, if you want to hear more. Spence, what's he going to be talking about? Cybersecurity
AI
or something?
Cybersecurity.
Very unlike Tofop.
No, AI and deep fakes and the internet and things that he knows about.
Yeah, that's true. You were talking last week about how gross it is to see players put the mouth guard in their socks or tuck it into the waistband of their shorts.
Yeah.
And we were joking about getting athlete's foot of the mouth. Well, it turns out that is possible. This came in from Matthew. He says, "G'day, gentlemen. I just thought you might like to know that," and I'm going to fuck the name of this, Candidiasis fungus, tinea or ringworm, does infect the mouth. It likes any warm area of the body that water collects in. So yes, if a sock was not cleaned properly, it would be possible to infect your mouth by placing a mouth guard in the sock and then back into your mouth.
Oh no.
Some football shorts have a pocket that players put the mouth guard in for their shot routine. It would be easier to transfer a groin tinea infection by brushing that area while placing the pocket and then placing it back in the mouth after the routine. Okay, so you're going to get, do you want groin mouth tinea or do you want foot mouth tinea?
Groin? I think, to be honest. But also, I noticed that, and maybe I'm wrong, Essendon fans will be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but it looked like Zach Merritt is a tucker up the shorts at the front.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. That's into like his Speedos then, is it?
Yeah, I guess so. Like tucking under but that to me felt like the most cumbersome of like running into
and the
goal.
Most distracting to have it on your thigh. Might feel
Don't you
nice to have a little something rubbing against your thigh. Well, maybe that's why. You know, that does raise questions about his junior footy coach, though. Whoever taught him how to kick for goal.
Yeah, I'll put it up there, Zachy.
Good boy, come here. Matthew finishes by, I support the Eagles. I was listening to a podcast by them a while back. They talked about a player meeting in 2015 where the coaches said the recent infectious disease outbreak in the playing group was due to at least one player not being clean enough after a number 2 visit to the toilet, then entering the team's spa. Sport is gross, Matthew. That's the other thing is you forget, right? Like this is a organization that is mainly filled with young guys
men,
who've only played football, who don't know how to look after themselves,
dumb men who
wipe their own bums properly.
Don't know how to wipe their bums properly before they jump in the communal hot tub.
Oh, God, it's disgusting. So gross. This is nice. This came from Mark. He says, hey, I've enjoyed your chat over the last few episodes about leaning against the negatives and overly serious media types and just enjoying the silly sport we choose to follow. And it really resonates with me. That's how I follow the game. So with that in mind, here are my top three wholesome storylines that could realistically happen this year. Great. So number 1, David Swallow plays finals. The first Gold Coast pick back in 2011 or whenever it was. He has no doubt had offers to leave, but he's outlasted many failed versions of the Suns. He deserves to play finals. That's a good story.
Oh, my God. I love that. All right. Good, solid start, Mark.
Story 2, Bevo wins it all. Imagine Beveridge and the bottom boys in grand final week, and Bevo still doesn't have a contract for next year. He refuses
to sign it.
He just says the club and I are working through it all week, and then they win the flag. Story 3, Ken wins it all. This is probably the least likely scenario. I'd love things to just sort of click for Port, and we see the Power win 10 in a row, and Ken go ape shit after a close prelim win, then a comfortable grand final win the next week. I presume Ken would just not show up the next day as he's unemployed.
Yeah.
Seems like that kind of bloke.
I at the start of the season said that the Ken storyline was the one that I wanted to see, but the Swallow one I love. I reckon that's fantastic. And that's the sort of thing that also makes me think, like it always feels like if a team's going to make a run with it and like say Gold Coast do, that there's always like one of those stories in one of those teams that comes from nowhere that like the Shane Crawford or whoever who missed out on all the good times and finally gets their opportunity to be part of something.
I mean, but you say that after we've just talked about how it's inevitable that Hawthorn win a flag. So what was Shane Crawford so worried about? It was going to happen.
Well, he was the one. He was like, well, maybe it's not going to happen for me. They told me.
Oh, of course. What was I worried about?
That's why he said, that's what I'm talking about. Because that's what he'd been talking about.
That was not intentional.
No.
But I love this. So why don't we put this out there to the listeners?
Yes.
If you want to write into us, come. It can be about your club. It can be about a player you love, whatever. But bring us some wholesome storylines that you would like to see happen this year. What's the best thing that could happen
what would
for
be
a
a
player
brilliant thing to happen?
or a club? Yeah. Send them in.
Who's
us.
someone who deserves it? Who's like a person like who deserves whatever the thing is?
Yeah.
Like, let us know.
Not negative stuff. Not someone like missing a goal, like all positive stuff, all like that. Same vein as that email. While we're on the subject of positivity, this came in from Steve. The subject line intrigued me. It just said St Kilda I forgive you, and I am sorry.
Oh.
G'day, Charlie and Will. I love the pod. This one is for Charlie. I'm a dog supporter. I've been for about 30 years after inexplicably jumping ship for another unnamed team at a young age who have since gone on to immense and sustained success. I'm wondering if it's a certain brown and gold team.
Oh, yeah. Or Geelong.
Yeah.
Or like-
I rode the highs in the late 90s and the depths of the fall in the Peter Road days before watching our climb with excitement as Rocket E took over in the second half of the 2000s. But our climb was timed alongside the climb of the Saints. You guys are our bogey team for years, and I hated you for it. No matter what, either Aaron Hamill, Nick Revels, or Justin Kazitsky would kick a bunch against us and we would lose. You also stopped us getting to the 2009 and 2010 grand finals. 2009 in particular was a hard pill to swallow, watching a low-scoring scrap at the MCG with Nick Revels flopping and getting a free to backheeling a goal to seal the game. It was by far our best chance to make a grand final, and you ripped it from our hands. The next decade was a lot easier for us than you. We won the flag in 2016. You drafted Jack Billings. We got Bont. You drafted Hunter Clark and Nick Caulfield. We drafted Aaron Norton and Ed Richards and then pinched Caulfield for a packet of peanuts a few years later. And over the time, my disdain started to crack. Now, after seeing you struggle since that Stephen Milne bounce in 2010, with the exception of the 2020 sugar hit, I've realized that we are cut from the same cloth. We are both the battlers, the underdogs, the Cinderella story. It's up to us to fight back against the powerhouse darlings of the AFL and Collingwood, Carlton, Geelong, etc. I pray that Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera stays at the Saints and doesn't go home to South Australia.
That would be a good story.
That would be good.
I'm putting that one on my good stories. I want him to stay at the Saints because I think that would be heartbreaking for St Kilda to lose him, I think.
There was a very funny video that someone posted on TikTok. They went to Optus Stadium for one of the training sessions today, and as the players were coming off, they're all like signing autographs, and this guy handed Nasiah a contract. It's like extension contract to him, and he started signing and then stopped and read it and started laughing. Came back to the guy. It's very good. I hope Max King's knee comes good, that Jack Higgins wins a surprise Coleman, and I genuinely hope your time comes soon. Ultimately, if it's not us, I want it to be you. Lenny Hayes never got his flag. Let's get Jack Steele, Jack Sinclair, and Callum Wilkie their chance. I forgive you for causing me pain, St Kilda, but more importantly, I'm sorry for all the bad that I sent your way. Regards, Steve, a remorseful Dogs fan. Steve, thank you. Very kind of you to write that. And yes, I would love to see all that happen. I don't think it was you. I don't think it was your hatred of St Kilda, which has seen us be a mediocre team for the last 15 years.
Yeah, but also we were just unlucky that we were both good teams at the same time. It wasn't a case of you were a club that had unfairly gained that advantage. We just happened to be teams that were both good around the same time. I don't think there was anything but I get what he means.
All right. Well, there is one letter I'm just going to leave for the end. So let's just let people know if they want to get in contact with us, they can. You can either go to everyonerelax.co. There's a little form there. You just a drop down menu, send it to 2 guys, 1 cup, or old fashioned way, 2 guys, 1 cup AFL@gmail.com. You can also support us on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/everyonerelax. We put up full videos of the show early. The episodes go up early, and you can check out all our other great shows, which go up there ad-free. That's another thing I keep forgetting to say. If you want to hear this show ad-free, you can become a Patreon subscriber. Will, you got shows?
Yeah, comedy.com.au is the place to go to find all the information for my tours.
This came in from Matt, and this is what we're going to go out on. Hi, Charlie and Will, love your show. I'm a big Bulldogs fan. I thought you might be the right guys to come through with this. Watching the Bont do his thing one day, I thought, as I'm sure we all want to do, I'm watching an artist. So I thought I'd play tribute through art. At the very least, this guy deserves a theme song while he's still around for us to appreciate.
I love it.
So here's a song I made. I tried to make it elegantly brutal, just like Bont. I think it's not bad. I sort of structured the song so it could be laid over highlights with inflections and commentary or something like that.
Great.
However, my abilities don't stretch that far. I'd love it if I could find someone to stitch together some video to go with it. And I thought, who better to reach out than you two, a Doggies fan and a fellow with visual arts experience. Okay, so we're going to finish the episode by going out on Matt's song. We'll put a link to the song in the show notes. So if there's anyone who wants to cut together just a cheeky Bont highlights package, you can. But here's a song that I think is just titled Bontempelli. Play on, not 15.
Paul?
Tougher than Ned Kelly. Turns the oppo to jelly. Flair like Botticelli. More chops and a deli. To Pelly. Lighten up your telly.
Little footy loving dickheads, dreaming about a Premiership Cup. We love our clubs, but they never win. 2 flags in 100 years. That shit house. If you think we'll be insightful, clever, or just well researched, we're here to say that's not the case. We'll just go out and wing it. We are 2 guys, 1 cup.